Alright, so we're trying something different for this edition of Rough Drafts. This is a cube draft, a legacy cube draft, and there is this theory about Magic Online. So with Magic Online, basically how a draft works is you have so long to make your pick. Starts off over a minute, and then every pick the time gets less and less because you have less cards to look through. Well, if you don't make your pick in time, Magic Online will randomly pick a card for you, or at least that's the idea. But there's been a lot of reports from people that Magic Online always picks a white card, and in my very subjective experience, I think it always picks the lowest converted mana cost white card. So, for science, we are going to do an auto pick draft. That means I am not going to select any cards. We'll probably talk about the cards I would select, because we're going to have to do something to fill up the time while we're waiting for the clock to run down. But we are going to let Magic Online make all our picks through this draft and see, for the sake of science, if that theory holds true. Is it always going to take a white card, and will it be the lowest converted mana cost white card in the pack? So that's what we're going to figure out today, and then I'm going to try to play the deck. I'm actually hoping that it always takes the lowest converted mana cost white card, because then I would actually end up with a semi-playable white weenie deck, although in Cube Draft that isn't an archetype I really want to be in. But so we are going to see, so this will probably go horribly. Hopefully we will figure out, though, if that really is how this works on Magic Online. That is the goal of today. Alright, here we go. Let's see what we get. So there's 15 options. What can we sort by? Sort by... Ah, there we go. It sorts perfectly. So it sorts by color and converted mana cost. So, the lowest converted mana cost white card in this pack is Student of Warfare. I'm guessing that'll be the pick, if my theory holds true. If it is just a white card, a random white card, it could be Student or Ravages of War. Or I guess maybe Gaddock Teague, depending on how multicolor fits into it. If I was making this pick, I would very easily be taking a blue card, either this Treachery or Ponder. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. No! How do you unreserve? I can't? No! Oh my goodness, I already... Okay, so... There's no unreserve. Alright. Well, the science will start next pick. I didn't realize, I thought you could unreserve once you reserved a card, but I guess once you click a card, it is reserved forever. Alright, so we took the Student of Warfare. I would have taken probably the Treachery, and we would have followed up with Phyrexian Metamorph. Let me see, let's put up the preview pane, then we can actually talk about the cards. So, we're expecting to get a Banisher Priest, the lowest converted mana cost white card. Could be Glorious Anthem. They're actually tied in converted mana cost. If I was controlling this draft instead of Magic Online, we'd probably take the Metamorph here, and we would have had Treachery into Metamorph. Courser's not bad in a green rampy deck. Birthing Pod is typically a trap in Cube. It puts a big restriction on your converted mana cost, and it's actually really hard to build a good Birthing Pod deck. High Market doesn't seem great unless somehow you can abuse the sacrifice ability. I don't mind Necrotol. Char is fine in the burn deck. Dualcaster Mage usually comes around late, but I think it's actually pretty powerful in some archetypes. But anyway, let's see. 4, 3, 2, 1. Alright, Banisher Priest, lowest converted mana cost white card. So far, even though we messed up the first pick, so far the theory is holding true. And we will also see what happens when there are no white cards in the pack. And just to show that it's not taking the first card, we want to see if that is a possibility. We're going to sort this time by converted mana cost. So if it was just picking the first card in the queue, it would pick this Carpulsin Forest. If it was picking a non-land card, the lowest converted mana cost, it would be Elixir of Immortality. But I'm expecting it is going to give us a Baneslayer Angel from down here in the bottom row. So if we were drafting, assuming we pick those two blue cards, Um, I might take Reanimate and go towards the Reanimator strategy and hope that Careful Study tables. I do like the Reanimator strategy. Hangerback's also fine. Windbrisk Heights would be sweet in our deck, assuming it's white. Let's see, Baneslayer? Yeah, Baneslayer! It is holding true so far. So let's sort a different way this time. Let's sort by set and collector number. Oh, that puts Kytheon first. Let's sort by name. So by name, Abbot of Carroll Keep would be the pick if they were just going in alphabetical order. But I'm kind of interested to see what happens here, because we have 2 1-converted mana cost white cards. We might be able to figure out over the course of this draft if it picks a creature over a spell in these situations where the converted mana cost is tied. So far, we had one tie, Banisher Priest and Glorious Anthem, and it took the creature over the enchantment. So let's see if this takes the Kytheon here over the Condemn. It does. So we're narrowing it down. It looks like it takes the lowest converted mana cost white card, or it could even be the lowest converted mana cost white creature. We need to get a situation where we have like a Swords to Plowshares or a Path to Exile in a pack, and then a Banisher Priest or some other creature. So this pack, I'm expecting, if our theory holds, we'll be getting a Soldier of the Pantheon. Merfolk Looter is sweet in the reanimation strategy. Supreme Verdict is a card I really like. Blue-White Control is really good. Liliana Vess is alright, depending on the deck you're in. One thing about the Legacy Cube is you don't have as many good tutors, so I think Liliana Vess gets a little bit better, just because of the Vampiric Tutor ability. Alright, let's see. Do we get Soldier? Yes, Soldier of the Pantheon! Well, I'm assuming this is followed up by Mentor of the Meek. The other white card is Terminus, but it is a spell and more expensive. So far, I'm going to actually be taking notes on this. Okay, so far, it has always picked a white card, and we haven't had a situation yet where there has not been a white card in pack, so we're waiting to see on that. If there's a tie... Oh! Huh. So that throws off our theory. There was a Mentor of the Meek in that last pack, and a Terminus as our 2 white cards. So Mentor and Terminus. It took the Terminus for some reason. In every other situation, we had Kytheon and Condemn. It took the Kytheon. We had Student Warfare was the error pick. So I'm thinking we get the Martial Coup here? Yeah. So sticking with white. Well, now we only have 1 white card in the pack, so it should be Elspeth Terrell. It took the Baneslayer Angel as the only white card. It took the Terminus over the Mentor of the Meek, which was crazy. It took the Banisher Priest over Glorious Anthem. So that Terminus pick really throws my theory for a loop, because it didn't take a creature or the lowest converted mana cost white card. It took... Unless it is counting the Miracle cost. If it's counting the Miracle cost, then Terminus would be lower, less expensive, lower converted mana cost than Mentor of the Meek. So unless there's some weirdness that somehow they count Terminus as 1. Now this is the pick we've been waiting for. This is the no white card pack. So in theory, what is this? Pick 9 of pack 1. In theory, Gaddock Teeg is half white, so we'll see if it takes Gaddock Teeg. No, it takes a black card. So no white card, it takes Sidisi. Black creature. Here, I'm assuming it's just Glorious Anthem, the only white card in the pack. So we'll have to see if maybe it defaults to black if there's no white in the pack. We'll see if we get more packs that can back up that theory. Move this preview window over a bit. Alright, 1 second. Glorious Anthem, as predicted. Alright, so now we have a pack. Apparently, multicolored doesn't matter because it didn't take the Gaddock, so even though it's white and green, Moto apparently doesn't recognize that as a white card or view it as such. So I wouldn't expect the Qasali Pride Mage. I'm leaning towards Moto taking Erebos here since it took Sidisi, and that would confirm that black is second in the pick order behind white. Oh! Wow, okay. Well, or maybe a white land. One thing I noticed on Moto is if you sort by color, it includes lands that tap for a color in that color. So maybe it views Windbreast Heights as a white card. That's another possibility. Do we get Carrion Feeder here? Yes. So, alright, after pack 1 we are learning some things. Actually, this is an interesting pick. There's no white, no black, and no lands that produce white mana. So where does that leave us? What do they take here? Is it a creature or a land? It takes the creature, Rampaging Balos. So I would assume that this would be Disciple of Bolas. Yep, and then Boros Charm. Alright, so far, our working theory is that Moto always picks the lowest converted mana cost white card. Alright, I'm going to write that down. Lowest CMC white card. If there's a tie, we still haven't really figured it out. If it's random or if it defaults to the creature. It looks like, except for that Terminus pick, it seems like it defaults to the lowest converted mana cost white creature. We're going to go back to sorting by color, so it puts the white cards over here. So I'm expecting to get Mother of Runes. So, alright, always picks a white card, if available. If there's more than one white card, it always takes the lowest converted mana cost card, and if there's a tie, it takes a creature. That's my working theory so far. The only problem is the Terminus, but my guess is that Terminus counted as a 1 cost card because of the Miracle cost, which bumped it in front of the Monastery, what was it? Mentor of the Meek. Also, mono white lands, like Windbreast Kites, apparently count as white cards, but I think they fall after creatures in the pecking order. And then, if there are no white cards at all in the pack, Moto is going to take a black card, if available. Also, multicolored doesn't count. So, a Gaddock or a Qasali Pride Mage isn't going to get picked. Moto will pick a mono black card over a white green card or a white blue card. And then, after those steps, so to rehash, always takes a white card. Defaults to the lowest converted mana cost card. If there's a tie, it appears to take the lowest converted mana cost creature. So we'll see. Here's another example. If it takes a Parallax Wave here over the Restoration Angel, then I'm going to say that it's random. If there's a tie, that it just randomly picks one of the white cards. But I think it'll take the Restoration Angel. Multicolor cards don't count. Apparently, lands that tap for mono, for just white mana, count as white cards. I'm assuming dual lands count as multicolored cards. And once we've gone through that whole progression, black is next in the pecking order. Yep, there's the Restoration Angel. So that's another vote for the creature having precedent over a non-creature spell if there's a tie. Here, I would expect that we're going to get Soulfire. So actually, I'm going to start moving some things to the sideboard. Rampaging Balos, let me move this preview window. So Rampaging Balos was out of a pack where there were just 2 lands. So we don't really have any way of knowing where green falls into the picking order, other than it is over lands. Moto will take a green creature over a land. We're going to move these black cards to the sideboard. Boros Charm was the last card on the pack, so it doesn't really tell us anything. And oddly, we are going to have a somewhat playable deck. And maybe that's why I think a lot of people assume this is a bug, and it very well could be. But it also could be that Moto wants to give players a somewhat playable deck if they are timing out on their picks. And, actually, Soulfire is more important than we thought. Soulfire shows that having activated mana abilities of other colors don't matter. So a white card that has colored abilities in it still counts as a white card, while a multicolor card, even if it has white in it, doesn't count as a white card. So I would expect this. This is another important one. Oust is cheaper than a Quarter Paladin, but a Quarter Paladin is a creature. So if it takes a Quarter Paladin, that would be, I believe, a surprise, because the lowest converted mana cost card seems to get priority unless it's a tie. So we should be getting the Oust here, which I guess is fine. As we start looking at our deck, it's not that bad. We have a bunch of 1-drops. Yep. Oh! Alright, so apparently it does default to taking the creature. The lowest converted mana cost creature. I don't know, though, because the Terminus. It took the Terminus over a creature. Well, that part is throwing me a bit for a loop, because there's a bit of inconsistency that I can't figure out. So at this point, what we can say for sure is it always takes a white card, and then if there's no white cards, it'll take a black card. Usually picks the lowest converted mana cost creature, but that has not been 100% consistent because of the Terminus pick, which is both more expensive and not a creature. There's Silverblade Paladin, not surprising, even though Gideon would have been much better for our deck. Here, this is another one of those weird ones that could, I guess, help prove the creature theory. Do we get a Frontline Medic, which is a creature, or an Ajani, which is a Planeswalker of the same converted mana cost? What are we missing? Maybe it takes... Something I didn't think of is maybe it takes the thing with the most white mana symbols, which would explain Terminus over the Mentor of the Meek. So if it takes a Johnny here, I'm going to start to think that it is counting white mana symbols and using that to break a tie. Oh, it took Frontline Medic, alright. So here we have another creature versus lower converted mana cost non-creature spell. So does it take Monastery Mentor, which would only be okay in our deck, since we don't have many spells. I think Crusade would definitely be the card I would want in our deck. I actually think this deck is going to be playable. I don't know if we will win with it, but it looks like a real white weenie deck. We have a bunch of 1-drops, some 2-drops, some decent 3-drops. The Wraths aren't great, but if we cut the Wraths and just go up to Baneslayer and Elspeth, especially if we get this Crusade, our deck actually looks pretty decent. Alright. So it is looking like it takes the creature. So we'll refresh after this pack. Let's see what happens through the rest of this pack. I'm expecting Blade Splicer. Fine addition to our deck. Some of these white Planeswalkers would have been really good in our deck, and they are probably unlikely to table. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, Ajani definitely won't table. There's not enough cards left in the pack. I'd be surprised if Gideon tabled. I guess it's possible Ajani Caller of the Pride is the last card left in the pack, but I wouldn't hold my breath. Yep, Blade Splicer. Ooh, Lingering Souls? Well, Lingering Souls isn't bad. We could even splash black, honestly, for the Lingering Souls. It's really good with Glorious Anthem. If we make and we could still get the Crusade back. That was in a pack that will table. And that's not a card people really want unless they're White Weenie. And Moto is making us the White Weenie deck, whether we want to be it or not. So I'm expecting Lingering Souls here. Whoa! Well, that throws everything into question. Days? Wow. Alright. So there was a Lingering Souls. It has black flashback cost, but there was also a mono black card in Kakusho. So I have no idea why it took a blue card. No, I would expect attrition here if the black theory is correct. Whoa, a red card! So maybe this was an illusory correlation here that it felt like it was always taking the black card, but maybe that isn't true. Maybe it just randomly picks a card if there's no white card, and it just randomly picked 3 black cards in a row, because we just got a red card and a blue card. And another blue card, and that was in a pack with 2 different black cards, so even if it was picking randomly, odds are in favor of the black card. Well, if it doesn't take the oust here, then our entire theory's up for debate, and we have no idea what's going on. Alright, it does take the oust. Man, well, I would love if it randomly picked us the Grafted War Gear. In a sense, apparently it can pick anything, is the new theory. After there's no white cards. We could get it. Drolf's Messenger. Well, we got a Johnny back. If we get a Johnny, and then I think the pack after that is a Crusade, which could very well be the last pick. Our deck is actually looking really reasonable. Yep, there's a Crusade. I don't know why we didn't get that Lingering Souls, though. Well... Alright, so... Whoa, are we going to get a Sun Titan? Is that the only white card? Yes. Well, I would expect a Sun Titan here. Not a bad top end for our deck, depending on how aggressive we end up being. It also means who knows what we'll get back out of this pack, since there isn't going to be a white card that tables. Alright, so... always picks a white card. Almost always, with the exception of Terminus, which I don't understand, picks a creature over a non-creature spell. That's the only instance where a non-creature spell was picked over a creature. Every other time it has picked a creature. It has been the default. White lands count as white cards. Multicolor cards do not count as white cards, even if they have white in their cast. Dual lands, oh, I'm screwing it up again. That's right, I can't click on things. Well, we knew they were going to take the Sun Titan, so we'll just reserve that. Yes, and then it looked like they were taking black cards after white cards, but that theory fell apart at the end of Pack 2, so now I don't know. Oh, man. Oh, I hope we're wrong, because Armageddon would be super sweet in this deck. I hope that they will probably take Revlark, because it's a creature. And like I was just saying, Terminus was the only time when it didn't, took a non-creature over a creature. And I still really can't figure out why. It has been very consistent every other case to take the creature over the non-creature, regardless of converted mana cost. So basically, my initial theory is proving true, except for Terminus. Moto takes the lowest converted mana cost white creature, if it is allowed to go to time and auto pick. And we'll see if this Revlark backs it up. Can we actually win with this deck is another question. I'm assuming we probably won't main deck the Wrath, since we're kind of creature heavy. The 1-drops are fine. Oust might be alright. Have a couple okay 2-drops. Monastery Mentor, yeah, it took the Revlark there. Well, O-Ring would be nice. Linvala would be pretty solid too, but I'm pretty sure it's going to take Anafenza. How many non-creature spells do we have? An Oust, a Crusade, a Johnny, Elspeth, Glorious Anthem. I'm not sure about this Monastery Mentor. We just might not be able to trigger it enough to make it worthwhile, depending on how the rest of the draft goes. Anafenza is not bad, because it'll give us another 2-drop. Maybe this is just the right way to draft. I mean, I guess it's fortunate that White Weenie is incredibly open, and no one else is drafting it. But that might be because we've been auto-picking the lowest converted mana cost white card sends pack one, pick one. I mean, it'll obviously depend on the matchups, but I wouldn't be surprised if this deck could steal a match or two. It's not impossible. Yep, there's Anafenza. Ooh, Champion of the Parish. This is another one of those non-land versus land picks. I'm assuming we get the Champion of the Parish, which is fine. We have 1 human, 2 humans, 3 humans, 4 humans, 5 humans, 6 humans. Oh, Anafenza, ruining it. 8 humans, 9 humans, 10 humans, 11 humans. So 11 humans actually makes Champion of the Parish a decent 1-drop in our deck. Oh, Moto, you're so silly. So if you guys have and girls have any idea as to why this is how it is, I don't know enough about programming to know if there's any computery reason why it would be picking the lowest converted mana cost white creature. Is there any way this is a bug and it's just accidentally doing this, or is this something that Moto and the team at Wizards of the Coast has programmed into Magic Online to give people a semi-playable deck if they somehow are not there for the drafting? Kind of the sweet part is, knowing how this works and looking how this deck turned out, it's definitely possible that you could just load up a draft, go walk away from your computer for a half hour, and come back with a playable deck. So I guess it's kind of nice, but I have no idea if this is intentional or a bug. It's definitely not random. That much is clear. There is a very specific order to it. And that is why we're going to get an Elite Vanguard here in about 2 seconds. Man, 2 good options in this pack. Cloud Goat Ranger and Dictate. Well, we should get the Cloud Goat Ranger because it's a creature. And I think that theory is still true. Also, if you're watching this, if you have any ideas why every single other time it is defaulted to the lowest converted mana cost creature, if you have any ideas why it took the Terminus over the 3 converted mana cost mono white Mentor of the Meek, make sure to let me know that too, because that's the one thing that is keeping me from feeling really solid on this theory, is that one pick. It's still, I mean, the white card theory is very true. Lowest converted mana cost creature theory seems quite true, but that one pick is keeping it from being 100% true, and I can't figure out. So what am I missing in that scenario that would make Terminus be the pick over the Mentor of the Meek? Here, we're probably going to get Ranger of Eos, which actually isn't horrible. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 1-drop creatures. And then we are holding our breath and hoping that that Dictate of Helioid and Spear of Helioid, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, it could table. It could be the very last card in the pack. So if those table, man, we have... This deck might actually be very good. Like, we might actually be... Oh, and a Fiend Hunter? Fiend Hunter solid. That's more removal. That's also a creature. So we might end up cutting some of our high-end stuff, actually. Like Sun Titan. Sun Titan is sweet, but we might want to be like more focused on the low end and try to cut some lands. We're going to get this Fiend Hunter, and we're actually going to end up with way more than the number of cards we need to make a playable deck. So we might cut Sun Titan. Sun Titan is really powerful, but in White Weenie, 6 mana is so much. We might want to try to be like a 16 land deck. There's a Fiend Hunter. Here, okay. So our old theory was that it took black cards. That doesn't seem to be true. We're fairly confident, or very confident, that Dragonlord Dromoka doesn't count as a white card, because it happened twice with a white-green card and it wasn't picked. Winter Orb, though, Winter Orb would be a great addition to our deck. I would love to see This Winter Orb, if that was randomly picked. We haven't seen any signs, though, of it taking artifacts. There was a Grafted War Gear in a pack with 3 cards left, and it took a colored card. But if it's completely random... See, now it takes a black card again. So we didn't... Our deck would have been awesome if that Armageddon had tabled and we had gotten that Winter Orb. That's a good way to punish control decks with a white weenie deck. What else are we not playing? It partly depends on if we get any more of the anthems back. If we do, that would be sweet. Here, I guess a black card, or maybe not. Now it's back to taking black cards. I don't understand. So it usually takes a black card, but not always. There's a few picks that have thrown me off. The white thing has been 100% true. The lowest converted mana cost white creature thing has been like 95% true. One pick away from being 100% true. The black thing has been mostly true, but not completely true. Because of Daze, Pestermite, and Chandra were in packs with black cards. And something else, I think. Or maybe it was the Daze, was in the Kakusho pack. I don't know. Yep, another black card. Wow, it looks like someone might be hating out the white cards, because they are not coming back around. It's also a little weird that there's these lands in the pack. Overgrown Tomb is a good land. Glacial Fortress is fine. Do we just get the Kira here? Yep. Here I would... This is kind of interesting. We'll see if the creature over spells thing remains true with other colors. I guess it doesn't tell us much because it's only one pick, but it appears to not be true, because Evolutionary Leap, you would think that it would have taken the creature there. And Mishra's Factory. Alright, so... yeah. I mean, basically, for the sake of science, doing this auto pick draft has kind of shaken out the way I expected. Always took the white card. Every pick except one, it took a creature over the lowest converted mana cost creature. Alright, let me rephrase this in a way that it makes sense. Every single time if it auto picks, it will take a white card, if that's an option. Every single time, except for one, which you guys and girls are going to help me figure out, the Terminus pick, it takes a creature over a spell, if there's a choice. And if there's a choice between multiple creatures or spells, it always takes the lowest converted mana cost. Those things have been true every single time through this entire draft, except for that one Terminus pick. So why Terminus is an outlier, I have no idea, but hopefully we can figure it out. Then, most of the time, it takes a black card if there's no white card available. And we also learned that a Windbreast Kites, the mono white land, counts as a white card. And multicolor cards, we had several situations where there was no white card, but there was a white-green card, and it did not ever take the white-green card. So multicolor does not count as a white card. So, to sum it all up, I am 100% sure that Moto always defaults to the white card. I am 100% sure that when it is choosing between creatures, it always takes the lowest converted mana cost white creature if there's a choice. I am 99% sure that it will always take a creature over a spell, except we got that one exception. Then I am 60% sure... Well, actually, to keep going in the correct order, I am also like 99% sure that multicolor cards do not count as white cards. Then I'm like 80% sure that Windbreast Kites and any other mono-colored white land counts as a white card. And then I'm like 30% sure that it gives some amount of preference to black cards over other color cards if there are no white cards in the pack. So that's the story of the draft. Now what to do with this deck? What do we not want? We have 19 creatures, 5 spells. We didn't get back those other Anthem effects. Might get rid of Revlark, although it does give us some card advantage. We can get back a couple of 1-drops in the late game, but it's expensive. I think we can get rid of that. And the question is, do we just want to play 17 lands? If we play 17 lands, This is the deck right here, I believe. Monastery Mentor doesn't seem great. Revlark, eh. The Wrasse, we're playing 18 creatures, so we probably don't want the Wrasse. Sun Titan is good, but I don't know. We might be able to play Sun Titan. If we're going to play 17 lands, we can probably play Sun Titan. If we're going to try to cut a land, we're going to have to play something cheaper, I think. If we're going to try to play 16 lands, then we would have to maybe play the Revlark, I guess. 16 lands Sun Titan just feels wrong. We don't have any ramp. I think Sun Titan is easily the better card than Revlark. Yeah, let's just run it like this. 17 lands. I guess it's fine. We have some 5-drops. Student of Warfare can help eat up our mana. Yeah, we'll run 17 lands with the Factory and the Windbreast Kites. Alright, so let's see how this works in actual game. So I think we figured out how Moto auto picks. And it might not actually end up being a waste of ticks, because we actually ended up with a pretty reasonable White Weenie deck. I bet if I was Craig Wesco, I would probably win this queue with this deck very easily. But I am not a White Weenie player, so we'll see. I would much rather be playing that Treachery and the Phyrexian Metamorph and stuff that we passed to pick one converted mana cost white creatures, but I don't think this deck is just unplayable. I think it's got a shot. So I'm going to submit it. We'll be back with round 1 of our auto pick cube draft.